G'day guys, and welcome to another episode of Euro Mining News. Now there's plenty of drilling out today, so we'll jump straight into it. Basically, first cab off the rank rather, is Prospech Limited, ASX listed junior. They've got this Kingrose diamond or this Kingrose rare earth element project. They've been doing some work on it this year, drilling out the tailing storage facility, because this was previously a lead mine, and they've discovered that there's rare earths in it. So they've been resampling old core, drilling the TSF out, and they've basically got enough confidence now that they want to go ahead and drill this thing with diamond. So they're planning on just over 1,000 meters of core. Their plans are to define the extensions and continuity, validate the historic core, because that's always important. This core was drilled back in the 1970s. Locations of downhole drill intercepts just nowhere near as accurate back then because they didn't have that downhole surveying technology that they have today. And just, it's always a good idea to make sure that these holes are real, because it has happened before where you've twinned holes, which means basically drilling the same hole. Something's come back with super high grade and you twin right next to it and there's nothing. So something's gone wrong in database transitions over time. So that's why they're going to validate this. They're going to provide some material for metallurgical test work, because once again, they haven't done any met test work on the rare earth elements, just on the lead. So that'll be super important, and also facilitate a maiden resource estimate. So that's exciting. They're going to actually wrap an estimate around this project. Now, Jason Beckton, who's the managing director, he's talking about the rare earth element potential. He's saying, 1,000 to 1,200 meters. They're going to use H-core diamond drill size. So what this means is there's different sizes of core. So BQ is really small, NQ is a little bit bigger, and HQ is quite big before you're getting into PQ, which is just a massive diameter. Now, HQ costs a bit more because you're cutting through more rock. However, because these holes back in 1970s were drilled with HQ, they're basically trying to replicate what they did back then to get as close to initial conditions as possible to validate this data. And this will also test strike and dip extensions and get that met samples, as I said before. They're going to try wrap a resource around this afterwards, and there is the drill rig. So that's all from Prospech. Next cab off the rank is Kingrose. Now, these guys are chasing nickel, copper, cobalt in Norway, but they've also just been recently granted a PGE prospect in Finland. But today we're talking the Rana project in Norway. So they're doing diamond as well, targeting some shallow, high electromagnetic anomalies, which are immediately down dip from mineralized nickel, copper, cobalt, massive sulfides, which are outcropping at surface. So generally, with something just to let you guys know about, is they're going to be talking about EM plates here with 6,800, 9,600 Siemens. Now, this just means that there's conductive sulfides there. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are chalcopyrite, so copper bearing, or pentlandite, nickel bearing. They could be pyrite or pyrrhotite, which are just iron sulfides. They can give off a similar type of EM signature. However, in this regard, it's actually quite positive because they are directly down dip of nickel, copper, cobalt bearing outcrop at surface. So they can be a lot more, they can have a lot more confidence in the fact that these sulfides actually are the nickel and copper rich sulfides that they're chasing. Now, they're going to do at least 700 meters of drilling, and they're contracting Arctic Drilling, which is a Norwegian owned and domiciled company. So Fabian Baker, who is the managing director, has said there's been no previous drilling in this area. And last year's drilling, which they did at Rånbulgen, which is this prospect, was approximately 600 meters up the hill to the southeast of these targets. So 600 meter step out's quite a long way. And they returned a best result of 9.3 meters at 1% nickel, 0.3% copper, 0.1% cobalt. So these grades, are they good or not? If you were to ask me, any one of these by themselves, if it was just 9 meters at 1% nickel, I probably wouldn't be getting too excited. If it was just 0.3% copper, 0.1% cobalt. However, because the three of these occur together, that brings it up into economic territory for sure. However, it's nothing to get super excited about. But what they're saying here is they think they may have actually missed the basal contact of the intrusion, which is the main target and where you've got your best likelihood to find these massive sulfides. So we'll have to wait and see what this drilling says, but what they've said in these targets is target 1 is 170 meters long, 100 meters deep. So that's the EM conductor. It's steeply dipping, which is generally a good thing for mining purposes down the line. And like I said, they don't have to worry too much about what these Siemens are. The big thing is it's less than 30 meters from surface where this thing starts, and it's got rock chip samples above it running up to 1.6% nickel and 0.6% copper. Second target, kind of similar, steeply dipping, starting from 20 meters below surface, and they've had some half-decent samples above it. They think the mineralization is pretty narrow, so less than 3 meters thick, the high-grade massive sulfide stuff. However, there is a broader zone of disseminated sulfides on either side, so that's where you can get up to these like 9 meters like they got before, with a internal high-grade massive sulfide section. They think it's the same geological and geochemical signature as other mineralized intercepts that they've had on the tenure, so that's obviously a positive. But the good thing about this one is this is inferred to be closer to the base of the intrusion than the 2023 drilling. So like I said, that's a higher likelihood of massive sulfides at bases of intrusions. So we'll see what this comes out as. They've said that they've done a whole bunch of stuff to get this going, flora and fauna surveys, noise surveys, etc. Here is the map, or the bird's eye view of it. So here's Rånbulgen, 9.3 meters at 1%, 0.3%, 0.1%. And that's from 2023 drilling. So that's about it from Kingrose. Except there was just one other thing I wanted to say is their quarterly report showed pretty healthy cash balance of $26.2 million in the bank. And on top of that, BHP has committed a 1-year expenditure of $7.75 million. So that's probably going to mean a lot of drilling for Kingrose. Furthermore, Kingrose was actually the leading explorer as far as expenditure was concerned for Norway in 2023 for hard rock mineral exploration. So these guys are aggressive explorers, and they've got a partner on board, BHP, who have got deep pockets. So this thing's probably going to evolve quite quickly is what I think, due to this alliance. Now, third cab off the rank for kicking off drilling is EGT, European Green Transition. These guys sit in southeast Sweden, and they've got their Ulcerum deposit, which is 4.5 million at 0.6, 3.3 million tons at 0.63 for rare earths. Now, that's for the actual Ulcerum deposit. What they're targeting with this drilling is to the northwest at the Jupiter prospect, which they actually think has got way higher prospectivity than their current resource. So the initial program is going to be 1,500 meters, and it's going to be targeting outcropping mineralization at Jupiter, where previous assays have shown up to 20% trio rates, which is massive, by the way. So the drill rig's been mobilised, it's started drilling, and this is basically going to de-risk. Now, Aidan Lavelle, who's the CEO, he's mentioned a whole bunch of really high-grade channel samples and rock chip samples that the company has been amassing since they listed on the London Stock Exchange in April. And this has basically been to increase their confidence before drilling, which they've gotten to that point. More important, well, not more importantly, but with rare earths, metallurgy is so important, way more so than for gold and base metals and etc. Because the rare earths are so much harder to extract if they're locked up in certain minerals. So they've basically done some metallurgical test work, and they've confirmed that the mineralization style at Ulcerum is capable of producing a rare earth element rich concentrate from conventional and relatively simple processing techniques. So that's a big tick in the book for me, because getting that network done early rather than drilling it all out, going, we've got really good grades, but we can't actually get the rare earths out. So I like seeing this early metallurgical work. So this program is going to be drilled out by Norse Drilling. So these are local Scandinavian operator, and this 1 kilometre long Jupiter trend is their main target for this one, which is separate from Ulcerum. Now, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for listening in. So they're going crazy with drilling, basically. Now, this isn't advice by any means, so I'm just a geo expressing my own personal opinions. Don't use anything I say for anything, basically. Thanks for listening in, and see you soon.